and welcome to this short video where I'm going to show you how to log on to the ESXLab remote vSphere lab environment. Now, in order to make use of this video, you must have already received login credentials, which would include your RDP connection string, your domain username, which would be in the form of ESXLab/user1 through user8, or actually up to user 16 in some cases, and the assigned password. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to search for RDP. This is the remote desktop connection client. In Windows 10, it's just referred to as an app. You can also just run mstsc.exe. And so what you'll see is the remote desktop connection client pops up, and it asks me for an RDP connection string. So I'm going to type in the connection string for the machine I want to access, pod17.esxlab.com:17002. Now, you'll see a username here that you can't edit unless you click Show Options. And it turns out user 2 is correct for my case, but otherwise you could just erase this field and put in whatever you want. Other things I'd like to point out is you can go to Display, and you can set the display resolution to anything you want from full screen down to, I'm just going to scroll right down, 640 by 480. Now, to be honest, anything less than about 1440 by 960 is not really usable in a vSphere environment. So I'm going to stick with 1800 by 980. You can also set the color depth to anything you want. Because this is just a remote desktop session, I'm going to suggest 16-bit color depth. We don't really need 24 or 32 bits here. Okay. Now, before you can actually connect to this remote machine, you must be on a network that allows outbound RDP connections on non-standard ports. So in this case, my remote machine is listening on port 17002, not the standard RDP port, which is 3289. Okay? So, if you're at a work location, which likely has a strong firewall configuration that says no outbound RDP connections, if you're VPNing to work, understand the VPN says first hop to my work network and then present to the internet from the inside of the work network, so that work firewall will likely prevent you from connecting to my labs. You need to be behind a home router that you haven't extremely locked down, or on any other kind of public access network. Okay, so having said all of that, let's go ahead and connect. So it comes up and it asks me, what's my password? So I type in the password. Again, that would be one of the credentials you get when you are delegated a lab access from ESXLab. This is a self-signed digital certificate warning. It says it's coming from pod17.esxlab.com for a machine that calls itself v70101.esxlab.com. If I'm going to be using remote labs for a week or so, I probably want to check "Don't ask me again," because I'm going to be reaching out to this machine over and over again, and I don't need to re-verify the certificate. Okay? Now, the reason we use self-signed digital certificates is because the labs only exist for as little as a week to as much as 8 weeks. And so we don't really see the need to put verifiable certificates in our remote lab environment. So I click yes. Whoops. Sometimes this happens. So what I'm going to do is ESXLab02, user 2. And it turns out I just fat-fingered the password. Now, we use Windows Server 2012 R2 in evaluation mode. So you can see down here that it's good for 175 days. And a few seconds after we log in, the screen should clean up, and you should only see one instance of these properties as opposed to 4. But the fact is we're on right now. We have a perfectly good Windows Server 2012 machine. We can right-click and do things. I can launch applications and so on. So you have just connected to the ESXLab remote lab environment. Thank you very much for watching. I'm Larry Karnas. Enjoy your lab session.